Part 126. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1251. At this moment, seeing Xiao Xian actually meditating on the spot, those who had not entered the frozen stairs were also stunned and couldn't believe their eyes. After all, his choice was a bit too strange. When most people come to the frozen stairs, they are basically trembling with fear. They want to reach the second half of the frozen stairs as early as possible, so as to avoid dangerous contact with the frozen stairs as much as possible. But Xiao Xian's approach was completely different. Instead of taking the initiative to avoid danger, he actually took the initiative to gain enlightenment. In the past, there were some trialists who would try to guess the formation's eyes during the trial in order to improve their strength. However, this method was not only extremely difficult, but also dangerous. After all, the obvious point is, those who can set up the trial formation must be stronger than those who participate in the trial. It is naturally extremely difficult for those who participate in the trial to understand the formation's eyes. Could it be that Xiao Xian really thought that with his ability, he could understand the core of the trial of the old man in the valley? Don't forget, the old man in the valley is a strong man in the saint realm. It is not that simple to penetrate a large array of characters of this level. If you are not careful, you may go crazy. This is by no means alarmist. On the Great Dao continent, there are countless talented cultivators who, just because of their overconfidence, tried to understand those trial formations during the trial, and ended up going crazy or even exploding to death. Under such circumstances, Xiao Xian actually dared to comprehend the trial formation in such a big way. Isn't this just looking for death? What you need to know is that this frozen staircase belongs to the old man of the valley who is a saint. How can ordinary people have the ability to comprehend it? Not to mention that Xiao Xian is just a small golden god realm now. Even if he is a real golden god realm, or even the dragon god realm, how difficult is it to understand the core of the frozen staircase? For a moment, all the testers present cast doubtful eyes on Xiao Xian. Haha, you're just trying to impress people. Are you pretending to understand the formation here? Do you really think that the formation of the old man in the valley is so easy to understand? It's ridiculous, it's so ridiculous. I didn't expect that the Xiao Xian could do such a stupid thing. I originally thought he was a genius, but he turned out to be a fool. Some trialists who did not participate in the frozen stairs were also talking about it. Most people don't believe in Xiao Xian. At this moment, Tum Qing and Bai Ling behind Xiao Xian were also a little surprised. They did not expect that the former would choose this way. It can be said that this is a do-or-die choice. How could the old man of the valley's frozen stairs be understood by a little golden god realm? Now, at the top of the frozen stairs, the old man in the valley also narrowed his eyes and looked at Xiao Xian, who was meditating with a bit of surprise. Beside the old man in the valley, there are still a few after-images with humble faces. There is a general holding a giant halberd, a scholar holding a bamboo slip, and a graceful dancing enchantress. Obviously, these people are the disciples of the old man in the valley. Master, this young man you are interested in seems to want to understand your power of fear. It's really ridiculous, General Juji sneered, just relying on this realm, trying to understand, isn't this a fool's dream? Is this the realm of standing at the top of the entire Dao continent? Your talents are not as good as this young man. The old man in the valley shook his head and said, what the master said is absolutely true. We are indeed talented. Otherwise, we would not be able to make progress in the dragon god realm. Finally, a disciple suddenly asked the old man in the valley, according to your opinion, how does Xiao Xian's talent compare to ours? However, now looking at the meaning of the old man in the valley, it seems that he quite approves of Xiao Xian, and even wants to leave his inheritance to him. This is simply unimaginable. On the Dao continent with hundreds of millions of creatures, the number of people who can reach this level is probably no more than 10. It can be said that they are the people who truly stand at the top of this continent. Senior brother, are you looking down on others a little too much? Do you think that others can't do things that you can't do yourself? The dancing enchantress said with a smile. Although these disciples died early and now have only a trace of regret left, they are still somewhat competitive in their hearts, and they all want to be recognized by the old man in the valley. What? Master, are you kidding me? When she asked this question, other disciples also paid attention. But, Master, if you pay so much attention to Xiaoxian, do you mean that Xiaoxian's talent is very good? Several disciples also had embarrassment on their faces. I, Ao Qing, have never seen any of the current cultivators who can match my talent back then. You must know that these disciples are also strong men at the level of Dragon God, and they can be regarded as giants on the Dao continent. Now, the old man in the valley is just a sad memory. He. Hear the words of the old man of the valley. He is just a little golden god. Is he worthy of your attention? Master, your words are so hurtful. The dancer couldn't help but ask. At this moment, everyone present immediately started to pay attention again. Saint Realm. When these words were spoken, everyone present was instantly shocked. Although they are not as good as the old man in the valley, they are still considered strong in Nanzan Hai's Hu, at least many times stronger than Xiaoxian, a little golden god. This. However, what he said caused ridicule from all the disciples. The person who laughed the loudest among them was the graceful dancing enchantress. She walked up to the old man in the valley and asked with a smile, Master, who do you think is more talented among us? If you were really talented, how could you have been stuck in the dragon god realm for so many years? The old man in the valley said lightly. But even they didn't really get all the inheritance from the old man in the valley. However, his vision and perception were still there, and the fact that he could have such a high opinion of Xiaoxian shocked all the disciples. You know, these disciples are all powerful in the dragon god realm. In response, the old man in the valley shook his head slightly and said, although Xiaoxian is still in the little golden god realm now, his future is certainly immeasurable, and it is not known whether he will reach the saint realm in the future. In their opinion, they are at least more talented than Xiaoxian, a person in the little golden god realm. Therefore, if they can be recognized by the old man in the valley, it will be a little comfort to them. The great halberd general looked contemptuous. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1252. Master, you are not going to leave your inheritance to him just because of his performance just now, are you? This is a bit too outrageous, General Juji couldn't help but said with dissatisfaction. That shouldn't happen. Master is also a very cautious person. He will never pass on his thousands of years of inheritance to him just because of this matter, unless. The scholar shook his head thoughtfully but stopped talking. Unless what? You, a lousy scholar, will drop your book bag, General Juji couldn't help but say. Unless he can really understand the power of fear on the frozen stairs, the scholar said. How can this be? Master's power of fear, even those like us in the dragon god realm, may not be able to fully understand it in his heyday. How could he, a mere small golden god realm, have this ability? Yes, you, scholar, will talk nonsense. Haven't you seen the master's power of fear? How can such a powerful power be understood by a small golden god? After hearing what the scholar said, the disciples present were all surprised. They didn't expect that the scholar would say such a thing. However, they basically did not believe that Xiaoxian could do this. After all, for such a long time, even they themselves may not be able to comprehend the fearful power of some valley elders. For this situation, These disciples are quite trustworthy. They have been apprentices to Old Man Valley for at least hundreds of years. It can be said that they have gone through a lot of hardships before they finally reached the Dragon God realm. But even so, until the end, they did not really understand the fear of Old Man Valley. Power. This is also the regret in each of their hearts. Now, seeing what the old man in the valley meant, he was really waiting for Xiaoxian to understand this power? Isn't this a bit exaggerated? You must know that these disciples have followed the old man in the valley for many years and know the old man very well. Moreover, all of them are strong men at the level of Dragon God. But even among them, no one could truly understand the power of fear in the old man in the valley. Now, after hearing these words, every one of them was shocked. Master, do you really think so highly of Xiaoxian? Do you think he can understand your power of fear? Isn't it a bit impossible? General Zhuji was also a little doubtful. As a senior brother, he is the one who most hopes to receive the inheritance from the old man in the valley. If you were on the frozen stairs, with the strength of the little golden god realm, would you have the guts to understand the power of fear as a master? The old man in the valley asked. This little golden god realm, how many years ago did this happen? I just vaguely remember that the little golden god realm cannot even penetrate the power of space. How can I understand the power of fear? Several disciples were talking with doubts on their faces. Although they didn't say it, they all knew in their hearts that with their talents, they would naturally not dare to come into contact with this power of fear under the little golden god realm. If you look at it from this perspective, Xiaoxian's courage is still much greater than theirs. As for the future, if Xiaoxian can really understand the power of fear, it will naturally prove his talent. At that moment, the disciples also looked at each other with solemn expressions on their faces. At the same time, although now, the old man of the valley is not at his peak. He also couldn't understand why Xiaoxian, a cultivator of the little golden god realm, had such weird skills. We who are in the dragon god realm don't dare to say that we can swallow the power of fear. How can he have this ability alone? Is this guy actually meditating? The speed of this kind of absorption is no less than the speed of ice-covered stairs. There seemed to be a number of strange techniques running in Xiaoxian's body, which were slowly dissolving the power of fear on the frozen stairs. How is this possible? Xiaoxian even has a tendency to completely absorb the power of fear on the frozen stairs. This is definitely not something that ordinary people can do. Even some of the apprentices of the old man in the valley may not be able to do it. Even the old man in the valley was quite surprised. Wouldn't it be a slap in the face of all the disciples of Old Man Valley? After having this feeling, several disciples of Old Man Valley looked at each other with incredulous expressions on their faces. At this moment, if the old man of the valley is beside Xiaoxian, he can see that the power of fear seems to have found its home, and has penetrated into the latter's body. Well, not bad, and he seems to have swallowed part of it, the old man in the valley said approvingly. At this moment, standing on the frozen stairs, he could clearly feel that there was a very obvious power fluctuation on it, but he had a feeling that he could conquer this power. The old man in the valley was also quite surprised. According to normal circumstances, practitioners in the little golden god realm, let alone comprehending the power of fear, would probably run away as soon as they saw it. If this continues. But at this moment, the old man in the valley looked solemn and was watching Xiaoxian's movements seriously. However, even just one residual thought is enough to deal with these golden god realm practitioners. Such a scene. But this Xiaoxian was good. Instead of avoiding it, he actively tried to comprehend it. After running the magic blood refining technique, Xiaoxian did discover something unusual. What he didn't expect was that under this strange technique, these powers of fear were actually stored in Xiaoxian's body, and seemed to have become a part of his body. Master? What are you talking about? This Xiaoxian is really comprehending the power of fear? Is this impossible? General Zhuji couldn't believe it. But after feeling the power of fear that was slowly being swallowed up. You must know that this frozen staircase was originally built by the old man in the valley with the power of fear in his remnants. Could it be said that he also had some adventures? At this time, the old man in the valley also felt something strange on the frozen stairs. For them, the words of the old man in the valley were really shocking. It's unbelievable, Master, are you right? If this can be understood successfully. For such a long time, almost none of them has been able to understand the power of fear in the old man in the valley. Now, Xiaoxian can actually understand it successfully. This is absolutely unthinkable. Xiaoxian no longer hesitated and directly used his skills to devour these invisible forces of fear. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1253. For a while. The old man in the valley also looked at Xiaoxian with satisfaction and approval in his eyes. This also made his other disciples jealous. You must know that for such a long time, they have also tried to understand the power of fear of the old man in the valley. Unfortunately, no one could successfully comprehend it. Could it be that the Xiaoxian really has such ability? This is simply unbelievable. The power of fear is a power that can only be understood by strong people in the Dragon God realm or even the Saint realm. How can this person in the little Golden God realm do this? If nothing else, if he still had such power, I'm afraid he would have reached the top of the frozen stairs by now. How could he be here? Some of the trialists also said after seeing Xiaoxian's appearance. What they don't know is, at this time, Xiaoxian was actually slowly devouring the power of fear on the refining frozen stairs, and the devouring speed was extremely alarming. This kind of fearful power makes even the strong ones in the Dragon God realm fearful. Under the magic blood refining technique, these powers of fear were gradually swallowed up by Xiaoxian into his sea of qi, and gradually became part of Xiaoxian's power. Even Xiaoxian himself couldn't believe this situation. You know, according to what the system said, this power of fear is a power that can only be controlled by the Dragon God realm or even the Saint realm. Now he has realized it. So with his current strength, wouldn't he be able to fight against the Dragon God realm? Thinking of this, his face moved a little. Another half hour passed. Xiaoxian can already feel that there is indeed some unusual fear power in his body. With the blessing of such power, his skills and combat skills seem to have been strengthened a lot. This also surprised him. He can roughly feel now that his strength should be no less than that of an ordinary Golden God realm. This was really something that surprised him. You must know that when he entered the Flame Cemetery, he was just a small Golden God realm. Although he could indeed fight against the powerful Golden God realm relying on various trump cards, this did not mean that he had the strength of a strong Golden God realm. The power of the Avenue. But things are different now. What he could feel was that with the addition of the power of fear in his body, although he was still in the little Golden God realm, the power of the great Dao in his body had expanded several times. Now, his power of the great Dao is no less than that of an ordinary Golden God. Under such circumstances, he was naturally pleasantly surprised. He originally thought that the power of fear on the frozen stairs would only help him with an unexpected fighting method. But now it seems that it is not just that. This power of fear can not only increase the attack methods, but also help increase the power of the avenue in him. This is really something he didn't expect. It is worthy of the trial set by the old man of the valley. It's really unexpected. With this power of fear, doesn't it mean that I am invincible in this flame cemetery? A smile appeared at the corner of Xiaoxian's mouth. Standing up, he also saw that more and more trialists were participating on the frozen stairs in front of him. It turned out that after seeing Xiaoxian's appearance, the sect disciples of the Golden God realm were also excited. After all, even Xiaoxian, a cultivator of the small Golden God realm, had the courage to challenge the frozen stairs. Naturally, they of the Golden God realm did not want to fall behind. After all, the inheritance of the old man of the valley is still very tempting. If they can obtain these inheritances, let alone break through the Golden God realm and enter the Dragon God realm in the future, even entering the Saint realm may not be impossible. So they all participated. Unlike Xiaoxian, after these trialists participated, their first choice was to move towards the end of the frozen stairs as much as possible, trying to get to the top of the frozen stairs as soon as possible. I want to get the approval of the old man in the valley. If placed in normal times, there is nothing wrong with such a choice, but it is different now. The old man in the valley was once a strong man in the saint realm. Even though it is just a residual thought now, the frozen stairs he set up are not what ordinary Golden God realm can do. Any breakthrough. And the actual situation is also the same. The strong men of the Golden God realm among the sects were not as strong as Starsword and Huo Lai. Naturally, they didn't go far on the frozen stairs before they stopped in place, unable to take a single step. This scene was not beyond Xiaoxian's expectation. On the other hand, Tomuqing and Bai Ling were behind Xiaoxian. When they saw that Xiaoxian was no longer enlightened, they were full of curiosity and hurriedly came over. Master Xiaoxian, what did you realize? At this time, looking at Xiaoxian, Tomuqing couldn't help but ask curiously, did you really comprehend the mysterious power on this frozen staircase? Not only was the tomb blue, but Bai Ling's face was also full of curiosity. In fact, since they walked up the frozen stairs, both of them could feel the magical power of fear on it. Under such power of fear, it seems that the power of the avenue in them can no longer be used. This is absolutely terrifying. You must know that they are all cultivators who have been walking on the path of cultivation for countless years. For such a long time, they have encountered various dangers in the flame cemetery. But this was also the first time they encountered a situation where they were unable to use the power of the Great Avenue. After all, as cultivators, the reason why they can have longer lifespans, healthier bodies, and stronger combat effectiveness than ordinary people relies on the power of the Great Dao in their bodies. If they are unable to use the power of the Great Dao, doesn't it mean that they are no different from ordinary people? Both of them were shocked by this. Now, seeing that Xiaoxian had stopped meditating, they couldn't help but gathered around, with curiosity on their faces. I just comprehended the power on some frozen stairs, Xiaoxian said with a smile. How is your enlightenment? Tomuqing and Bai Ling couldn't help but took a breath of air and asked carefully, did you really understand this magical power? Incredible. Master, can you really comprehend this kind of power? It's really amazing. Bai Ling also blinked his big eyes, looking surprised. In this regard, they had to look at Xiaoxian with admiration again. After all, Xiaoxian, who was in the little Golden God realm, had the courage to comprehend on the frozen stairs. Not everyone dared to do such a thing. More importantly, they also felt the situation very clearly. The indescribable terrifying power on the frozen stairs also caused them to suffer a lot. Now, seeing Xiaoxian completing his enlightenment, they were also a little curious. Could it be said that Xiaoxian could really comprehend something extraordinary? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1254. It's actually not bad. I feel that this power may be the real trial on the frozen stairs, and it is also the purpose of the old man in the valley setting up the trial. At this moment, after swallowing the power of fear, Xiaoxian indeed felt the terror of this power. He discovered that within this power, Every time he activates the power of the avenue, his combat ability can be greatly improved. This is something that ordinary exercises don't have. Moreover, this power of fear can not only be used on the body's great power, but can also be used externally. Just like on this frozen staircase. With the blessing of the power of fear, he could clearly feel that ordinary practitioners would never go very far if they did not have a strong mind and character. What kind of power is this? After Tum Ching and Bai Ling looked at each other, they both saw a hint of solemnity in each other's eyes. In this regard, Xiao Xian also took the initiative to explain the process just now. This time, Tum Ching and Bai Ling were even more shocked. They couldn't believe what Xiao Xian said. After all, in their opinion, the power of the Great Avenue should be the most basic power in this world. As for the power of fear, they had never heard of it before, and they couldn't believe it at all. Now, these things Xiao Xian said are a bit too far away for them. Seeing the reactions of Tum Ching and Bai Ling, Xiao Xian was not surprised. In fact, if it weren't for the system, he wouldn't have known that there was such a thing as the power of fear in the world, and he couldn't believe that in the eyes of a strong person in the dragon god realm or even a strong person in the saint realm, this kind of power would not exist in the world. The threat is greater. But it's different now. After knowing this power, what Xiao Xian cared about was not that simple. The power of fear. I've never heard of this kind of power before, how come it suddenly appears? It is rumored that the old man in the valley is a master in the saint realm. Could it be said that only strong men in the saint realm can have such power? I have never heard of this kind of power in the White Flame Valley, and even our valley master of the White Flame Valley has never heard of it. Some people talked a lot. It turned out that although some trialists also participated in the trial, they had been paying attention to Xiao Xian's movements. After all, among all the trialists, Xiao Xian is the only one who has the ability to participate in the understanding of the frozen stairs. Therefore, it is difficult for him not to attract others' attention. Now, after hearing that Xiao Xian actually said that he had understood the power of fear, people naturally started talking about it. At this moment, even Xing Jian and Huo Lai were in front. After hearing these words, they all felt a little suspicious in their hearts, and couldn't help but ask directly, could it be that this guy Xiao Xian really has such a great ability? The power of fear? It seems that I have never heard of such a thing before. Indeed, is this all what Xiao Xian said casually? After all, even if some of us in the Golden God realm don't feel anything about this kind of thing, these words are probably what he said randomly. It sounds a little weird. If we say, they were all suppressed by Xiao Xian in all directions. There is no one who is not interested in this spot. They are disciples from outside areas. This Xiao Xian is just a little golden god. Even though he has temporarily gained some benefits, he can't resist the cold air on the frozen stairs. Not absolutely. For a moment, the practitioners present were a little worried. Impossible. Although they are all cultivators of the Golden God realm, after seeing Xiao Xian defeat the Silver Light of the Tianli sect and break through the frozen stairs alone, they have to admit that Xiao Xian, who is in the little Golden God realm, is stronger than they imagined. For them. And this time, it is also recognized as the disciple who is most likely to enter the Zhongzhou section. Now that he sees Xiao Xian's rise, he naturally feels a sense of crisis in his heart. After all, from Xiao Xian's performance just now, they also felt a trace of absolute depression. Seeing Xiao Xian get up again and continue walking towards the second half of the frozen stairs. It is said that at this year's youth conference, those Zhongzhou sects only need Sanming disciples. Black Sword Qin Feng and Mangling Sword Immortal are the two most promising people. We can only fight for the third one at most, but, this Xiao Xian performance. The two of them can also be regarded as the best among the external sects. Xiao Xian is in the little Golden God realm. If he really understands something from it, wouldn't we be even less of a rival in the future? After she said these words, Qin Feng was surprised. He couldn't help but continue to ask, Chenji Unxian means that Xiaoxian cannot really enter the second half of the frozen staircase? Isn't this a bit too absolute? Chen Meng is very confident. Anyone who steps on the frozen stairs will be affected by this power of fear, either affecting the power of the avenue, affecting the soul and spirit, or even affecting the mind and spirit. However, at this time, Xiaoxian had indeed roughly understood that the entire frozen staircase was almost filled with a majestic power of fear. This is extremely scary. Incredible. You also know that the old man in the valley is a strong man in the saint realm. It can be said that the anger of the saint realm can make the sky and the earth change color and the stars change owners. How could the ice ladder he built make it possible? A breakthrough to the little golden god realm. Since they are in the flame cemetery, they cannot pose any danger to Xiaoxian. You must know that the trialists who can participate in the flame cemetery this time are basically elite disciples from various sects. If Xiaoxian can break through, wouldn't it prove that everyone can break through? As Xingjian and Huo Lai talked, both of them had doubts on their faces. Chenji Unxian, do you think this Xiaoxian can pass the trial of the frozen stairs? Qin Feng couldn't help but frown and asked. Doesn't it mean that we will suffer a big loss at the youth conference in a few months? After all, compared to this time's flame cemetery, the youth conference in a few months is what they really value. After all, it is a conference related to the quota to enter the central province. Thinking of this, they couldn't help but feel a little more despair in their hearts. Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng also looked at each other, with a more dignified look in their eyes. Wouldn't they have even less chance at the youth conference in the future? Chen Meng said with contempt. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1255. Among the trialists in the fire cemetery. Although Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng have no sect, there is no doubt about their strength. Even for the leading disciples of the sect like Xingjian Huili, they may not be at a disadvantage, but compared to those people, they hope to take advantage of the youth conference to enter the Zhongzhou sect. In comparison, the sacred artifacts in the flame cemetery are not that important. But what surprised them was this Xiaoxian would actually have someone behave like this, and be able to behave like this at this time. Don't say anything else. If Xiaoxian can really use the frozen stairs to obtain the inheritance of the old man of the valley, doesn't it mean that his strength will increase? This is definitely not something ordinary people can do. From this point of view, it is naturally not a good thing for Qin Feng and Chen Meng. However, now he has shown such strength. If we can really get the inheritance from the old man of the valley, wouldn't it be even more powerful? This is a bit of a threat to us. Chen Meng thought for a moment and said, perhaps we should also fight for the inheritance of the old man in the valley. After saying this, Black Sword Qin Feng also nodded slightly. He can feel it. Xiaoxian, who was not far away, did bring a lot of pressure to him. Although it was the first time for him to see the former, the pressure the former brought to him was not small. This also made him feel very uneasy. You must know that he and Chen Meng are both masters who have been in the Golden God realm for many years. They have been immersed in this realm for many years. They are not said to be invincible in the Golden God realm, but they can also be said to be the best masters in this realm. At least, in the external area, if there is no Dragon God realm powerhouse to come forward, the average Golden God realm powerhouse will definitely not be their opponent. But now as Xiaoxian appears, it really made the two of them feel a serious sense of crisis. What the Sword Immortal Mengling said is absolutely true. Even with Xiaoxian now, I can feel a strong sense of crisis. In this case, we cannot let him get the inheritance of the old man of the valley. Otherwise, wouldn't there be more dangerous things? For a moment, Chen Meng and Qin Feng looked at each other at the same time, their faces full of solemnity. Faced with such a situation, under the leadership of the two men, some casual cultivators also walked onto the frozen stairs in unison. The ice-covered stairs, which were originally smooth, turned out to be crowded. This scene also made Tum Ching and Bai Ling frown slightly. They also knew that among the trialists participating in the Flame Cemetery this time, in addition to the leading disciples from the major sects, there were also some with outstanding strength. The casual cultivator, the Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng are the best among them. Speaking of which, if the two of them want to participate in the competition on the frozen stairs, the pressure will be the greatest for other trialists. Just these two things Xiao Xian did were enough to make countless powerful people in the Golden God realm envious and shocked. Could it be that it was just because of Xiao Xian's performance? I will also fully support you, Master. Bai Ling was not to be outdone. Now, since Xiao Xian wants to get the inheritance of the old man in the valley, he has enough reasons. Is it true? Bai Ling was a little surprised. Master Xiao Xian, don't you know that their strength is extremely top-notch, and they can be regarded as strong men in the Golden God realm? In response, Xiao Xian just shook his head slightly, disapproving in his heart. But Xiao Xian's recent performance really surprised Tum Ching. Don't worry, I haven't taken them seriously yet, Xiao Xian smiled slightly. However, if he provokes these casual cultivators, it will definitely not be a good thing for them. Tum Ching said firmly. Then I just want to see how strong these Golden God realm powerhouses are, Xiao Xian said directly. Why did those casual cultivators suddenly change their minds when they had clearly not participated in the trial? Although Xiao Xian's realm is only a small Golden God realm, his combat power has been truly demonstrated. Not only did he kill the Silver Light at the peak of the Golden God realm, he was also able to swallow the power of fear on the frozen stairs. However, Tum Ching was a bit unexpected. Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng are both quite prestigious among the casual cultivators. If it is not necessary, I suggest you not to conflict with them. Tum Ching, who has a stable personality, also said. Don't say anything else. Why are you looking at me like this? Is there something wrong? Xiao Xian looked indifferent. Now that he has understood the power of fear, this frozen staircase is not a challenge for him. He also knew very well in his heart that the reason why Tum Ching said this was for his safety. With the strength of Tum Spirit Sect and True Fire Academy, as long as Xiao Xian did not take the initiative to cause trouble, he could be guaranteed to be safe and sound. Therefore, under this situation, maybe he will really fight with the so-called Black Sword and Mengling Sword Immortal. I want to see what kind of masters they are. Xiao Xian nodded slightly. After arriving at the Flame Cemetery, he also met many so-called genius cultivators, but except for Silver Light, there was no one it can arouse his attention. But now, Xiao Xian is also at a time when he has no choice. Facing the inheritance of the old man of the valley who is so close at hand, he cannot give up. He might become the target of many casual cultivators because of this incident. That's right. At least, even the leading disciples of our sect don't dare to look down on them. Tum Ching nodded. Master, Xiao Xian became interested. When Xiao Xian first entered the Flame Cemetery, Tum Ching only thought that he was just an ordinary little golden god. He might have some unknown trump cards, but if he wanted to rely solely on his trump cards, he would be domineering in the Flame Cemetery. Somewhat taken for granted. That's all, Master once said, Mr. Xiao Xian, you are the benefactor of our Tomb Spirit section. As long as it is your choice, our Tomb Spirit sect will fully support it. That's fine. For a moment, Tum Ching couldn't help but look at Xiao Xian in surprise, his eyes full of surprise. After thinking for a while, Tum Ching also nodded. Master Xiao Xian, don't be rash. Young Master Xiao Xian doesn't know that Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng are among the top sword masters in our outer region. They are also the two most promising to enter the central sect in this year's youth conference. People Tum Ching also explained. We can even say, if young Master Xiao Xian can really get the inheritance from the old man of the valley, this will definitely be a big event that shocks the entire Flame Cemetery. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1256. Good. Since you have a plan, Mr. Xiao Xian, we can rest assured. After hearing Xiao Xian's explanation, Tum Ching also nodded, feeling relieved. In fact, after seeing Xiao Xian display his strength several times, he also understood that the latter was by no means an ordinary cultivator, and he should not be viewed with the same eyes as an ordinary person. Now that Xiao Xian has a plan in this regard. So, this is naturally a good thing for them. Moreover, since Xiao Xian has said that he wants to get the inheritance from the old man of the valley, then as a disciple of the Tomb Spirit sect, he will naturally give his full support. Don't worry. This is my personal choice and will not cause trouble to the Tomb Spirit section. Xiao Xian also saw some of Tum Ching's concerns and said, if there is a conflict, Tomb Spirit sect does not need to participate. After saying these words, Tum Ching's face suddenly turned red. Just now, the reason why he persuaded Xiao Xian was naturally selfish, and he did not want to bring trouble to his sect because of Xiao Xian. However, it was difficult for him to say it directly in front of Xiao Xian, who knew that his thoughts were directly seen by Xiao Xian, which also made Tum Ching's face a little embarrassed. And at this moment, Xiao Xian didn't feel any surprise or disgust about Tum Ching's inner thoughts. He also knew that Tum Ching was the leading disciple of Tomb Spirit sect after all. If he needs to make a decision, he must consider the interests of the entire sect and will never put the entire sect in danger because of one person. This is also one of Tum Ching's leadership styles, which is steady. Although the inheritance of the old man of the valley is important, it is indeed not worth the risk for the entire sect's disciples. Unless, there is really someone so powerful. Xiao Xian may be the most suitable candidate for this. Tum Ching also knows this. Of course, if possible, he is still willing to help Xiao Xian truly obtain the inheritance of the old man in the valley. Don't worry, Mr. Xiao Xian. Master has already given instructions before traveling. As long as it is your decision, our Tomb Spirit sect will definitely support it fully. Tum Ching said seriously, our Tomb Spirit sect is in the Flame Cemetery, so we have some respect. At least, we won't let other sects threaten you on the frozen stairs. After saying this, Xiao Xian nodded. In fact, he had a pretty good impression of Tum Ching. Speaking of which, ever since they entered the old man's tomb in this valley, without the latter's guidance, they didn't know how much they would have suffered. Now, since he had the promise of Tomb Green, he felt a lot more relieved. The only thing he needs to care about is how strong the Black Sword and Mengling Sword Immortals are. After all, he will also enter the Zhongzhou sect in the future. Now that it is said that these two people have the strength to enter the Zhongzhou sect, Xiao Xian really wants to see how strong they are. At least, we can see how far their strength is compared to Silver Light. Just thinking about it. Black Sword and Mengling Sword Immortal took the initiative to walk up to Xiao Xian. One of these two people is carrying a black long sword, and the other is running towards a silver long sword. Their eyes are sharp and unruly. Just from the sword aura emanating from them, you can tell that their strength is not weak. Master Xiao Xian, your performance just now was truly shocking. Black Sword Qin Feng spoke first. Looking at you, it seems you are also a sword cultivator. Good. Seeing the two people walking over, Xiao Xian didn't feel much. He could roughly guess that since these two people could become representatives of casual cultivators, they would naturally have good strength, and they would probably become truly capable people in the end. Although later on, they are likely to become competitors. However, Xiao Xian did not mean to be afraid and said directly, I heard that the two of them are also the two strongest casual cultivators in the outside area. Xiao Xian said these words. This also caused surprise to Qin Feng and Chen Meng. For such a long time, they had gained some reputation in the outside area. Even some sect leaders were polite to them. Who knew that Xiao Xian would be so straightforward? Although what he said now was not that extreme, the implication was very obvious that he had no intention of giving up the inheritance of the old man of the valley this time. This is not a situation they want to see. After all, the old man in the valley is a strong man in the saint realm, so his inheritance is naturally very important. Judging from the strength Xiao Xian showed before. If Xiao Xian received the inheritance from the old man in the valley, then he would undoubtedly become the strongest among these practitioners. Then at the youth conference, I'm afraid Xiao Xian will get the spot. This is also a situation that Qin Feng and Chen Meng don't want to see. More importantly, they just saw that Xiao Xian seemed to have been meditating on the frozen stairs for a long time, which also attracted their attention. They can roughly guess it. Since Xiao Xian has the courage to comprehend on the frozen stairs, it is enough to prove that he is not an ordinary person, and maybe he can really comprehend something on the frozen stairs. This is also the reason why they took the initiative to look for Xiao Xian. Master Xiao Xian, I heard that you just realized something unusual on the frozen stairs, right? Qin Feng said with a smile. Have you heard about this too? Xiao Xian also smiled slightly. Now, since we are all going to walk up the frozen stairs together, how about Mr. Xiao Xian tell us all his insights? Chen Meng said directly without being polite at all. Really? Why? Xiao Xian couldn't help but sneered. The reason why he talked to Qin Feng and Chen Meng was just to be polite. Who knew these two guys were so thick-skinned? As soon as you open your mouth, you want his enlightenment on the frozen stairs? Isn't this equivalent to wanting to know the opponent's trump card as soon as they meet? Isn't this a joke? The frozen stairs is right here. If Chen Jianxian wants to obtain the great path above, he can naturally comprehend it on his own. The old man in the valley doesn't seem to restrict others from comprehending it, right? Xiao Xian refused without being humble or arrogant. After he said this, Chen Meng's face became a little gloomy. Of course she knew that if he wanted to understand the great path on the frozen stairs, he could indeed choose to understand it himself. However, facing the trial arranged by the old man in the valley, even for her, who is at the peak of the Golden God realm, it is very psychologically burdensome to comprehend, so now she chooses to ask Xiao Xian directly. On the one hand, he really wanted to know the secrets on the frozen stairs, on the other hand, he also wanted to take this opportunity to give Xiao Xian a show of strength. Who knew that he would be rejected so unceremoniously by Xiao Xian? Isn't this equivalent to slapping her in the face? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1257. At this moment, Xiao Xian's response to Mengling's sword immortal also attracted the attention of all the trialists. What you need to know is, compared with Xiao Xian, who had just emerged in the flame cemetery, Mengling's sword immortal was a casual cultivator who had been famous in external areas for a long time, and her strength was recognized by more people. In the past, even the sect leaders of some large sects recognized her strength. This is also the reason why Chen Meng has the confidence to speak like this in front of Xiao Xian. But now, after hearing Xiao Xian's response, Chen Meng's face turned completely gloomy. He. It seems that young Master Xiao Xian is very confident in his own strength. Do you think that just by enlightening yourself on this frozen staircase, you can become invincible in this flame cemetery. Chen Meng sneered. As she said that, behind her, several sharp sword auras suddenly appeared, and the sword auras as if they were real came straight towards Xiao Xian's reveal. Such a change happened suddenly. Even Tom Ching and Bai Ling couldn't react in time. The two of them were shocked when they saw this, and quickly started to use their skills to help Xiao Xian, but they finally started to take a step slower. Just when the blade was close to Xiao Xian's neck, an unusual force of fear suddenly appeared in Xiao Xian's body. Although this force was subtle, it was far less powerful than the sword power summoned by Chen Meng. However, those extremely sharp kendo powers dissipated in an instant as if they encountered a natural enemy after coming into contact with the power of fear. This scene also surprised everyone present. They didn't even see what happened just now. They just felt an inexplicable force appear, and then swallowed up the sword energy summoned by Chen Meng. Looking at Xiao Xian again, he still looked calm at this moment. It's like nothing happened. This also made Chen Meng and Qin Feng secretly surprised, and they became a little more wary of Xiao Xian. The two of them know each other's strength relatively well. In any case, they are considered to be the best among the casual cultivators in the outer areas of Nanzan Haizhu. In a head-to-head battle, they will not fall behind even when faced with Silver Light. Because he has been practicing casually all year round, his true strength is even stronger than that of the leading disciples of the sect such as Tum Qinghua Li. Therefore, they also know how powerful Chen Meng's test against Xiao Xian just was. It can be said that if the person who was tested just now was Tum Qing and others, the latter's life might be in danger. Of course, in Chen Meng's heart, she didn't think about actually killing Xiao Xian. At most, she just wanted to show her strength and give the latter a warning. Who knew that her move could be resolved so easily? This really surprised her. Is this a test by Mengling Sword Immortal? Xiao Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. If it's just a test, I think there's no need for it. Snored. You have some tricks up your sleeve. However, if you want to get the inheritance from the old man of the valley, it seems that you have to see if you have this ability. Chen Meng didn't show any fear, he still looked stern. What's more, this is in a place like the Flame Cemetery where killing is rampant. Xiao Xian smiled slightly. Is it possible that she can still kill me? Therefore, some people in the world of cultivation would rather provoke strong people with sex than weak people among casual cultivators. As for the Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng. Chen Meng looked at Xiao Xian. How can you retaliate against me? They all know that Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng have always been inseparable. By targeting Xiao Xian in this way, he most likely hoped to give the latter a disincentive so that he would not dare to have any thoughts about the youth conference. I hope you can make it to the end, otherwise, I will really look down on you. This also attracted the attention of many cultivators present. They also watched Chen Meng's footsteps walking up the frozen stairs with interest in their hearts. Seeing her like this, Xiao Xian just shook his head and sneered. He had seen many self-righteous people, and he didn't care about people like her. After all, can we get the inheritance from the old man of the valley? After all, Xiao Xian was once a king who stood at the top of a continent. Young Master Xiao Xian, I'm afraid this is going to be a bit troublesome. Tum Qing looked at Xiao Xian with a worried look on his face and said proactively, you may not know that Mengling Sword Immortal is famous for holding grudges. If you provoke her like this today, I'm afraid you will encounter her revenge in the future. After saying that, he walked directly towards the frozen stairs. Not to mention that in this tomb, the death of one or two cultivators is nothing. Even if you leave this place and kill Xiao Xian in the Flame Cemetery, no one will say anything. This is not something she can decide with a single word. At least, with the magic blood refining technique in Xiao Xian's body, he has understood some of the core of the power of fear, which is something that all the trialists cannot understand. Under such circumstances, revenge. and relying on this alone, Xiao Xian's chances of getting the inheritance from the old man in the valley will be greatly increased. They also know that Xiao Xian is not weak, but if he encounters Heijian and Mengling Sword Fairy, it will be more troublesome. Now, these two people have officially announced that they will join the competition for the Frozen Stairs. You should know that casual cultivators like Heijian and Mengling Sword Immortal are not restricted by the sect in their daily work. Even if they do something excessive, they will not be punished. Moreover, they all believe that they are the strongest casual cultivators in the outside area, and they are bound to get a spot at the youth conference to enter the Zhongzhou sect. If you want to challenge him, if you don't have enough strength, you may be shattered into pieces first. In this regard, Xiao Xian is quite confident. Invisibly, the person who was under the greatest pressure was naturally Xiao Xian, and they also wanted to see how Xiao Xian should respond. These two people were nothing in Xiao Xian's heart. This time on top of the flame graveyard. It would be a good thing if they can become friends, but if they are pretentious and want to step on him to get the inheritance of the old man of the valley, then it depends on whether they have this ability. At the moment, Tum Qing and Bai Ling also looked at Xiao Xian with solemn expressions. Then we'll see. Now isn't Xiao Xian causing trouble for himself? After saying these words, all the disciples of the Tomb Spirit sect also took a breath of air, with solemn expressions on their faces. Xiao Xian dared to provoke such a powerful sword immortal Mengling. This was definitely not the best choice. If not, it might lead to death. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1258. Regarding Xiao Xian's indifferent appearance, Tum Qing and Bai Ling couldn't help but feel a little worried. After all, Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng were extremely famous among casual cultivators. Some things don't even require them to take the initiative. As long as they express their attitude, some followers will take the initiative to help them do it. Although Xiao Xian is very strong now, if he faces the hostility of so many people, it will be difficult to deal with it. This also made Tum Qing feel a lot more pressure on his shoulders. After all, before coming to the secret realm, the sect master Tomb Spirit had told them to protect Xiao Xian and never let the latter suffer any harm. Tomb Kingzin was also extremely worried about this. If Xiao Xian really encountered any danger in the cemetery, then he would really feel guilty in his heart. For this point, Tum Qing also didn't want Xiao Xian to act too arrogantly, as this was indeed a bit inappropriate. However, it made him feel helpless. It seemed that Xiao Xian didn't take this matter to heart, and he didn't even take Heijian and Mengling Sword Fairy at all. If Xiao Xian is a strong man at the Dragon God level, naturally no one will care. But the problem is that Xiao Xian is just a little golden god realm now. At his current level, even if he had some trump cards, he would still be under a lot of pressure if he wanted to fight against opponents like Black Sword and Mengling Sword Fairy. But why can Xiao Xian have such strong confidence? Isn't this a bit strange? Master Xiao Xian, do you really want to confront these two people? This frozen staircase is inherently dangerous. If these two people still cause trouble, I'm afraid. Tum Qing said a little worried. What are you afraid of? Xiao Xian asked nonchalantly. I'm afraid that you will encounter more troubles on the frozen stairs. If the power of fear from above backfires, it will affect your cultivation, Tum Qing also said. Yes, the trial of the old man in the valley is already extremely difficult. If these two people are still causing trouble, you may encounter more trouble. Bai Ling also agreed. It doesn't matter. I believe that since the old man of the valley has said that this is just a trial, I believe that he will never have anything life-threatening on the frozen stairs, so I am still safe. Xiao Xian smiled and said, as for the two of them, they don't pose any threat to me. Say it. Not only Tum Qing and Bai Ling, but also the entire Tomb Spirit sect disciples were shocked. What you need to know is that Qin Feng and Chen Meng are both people at the peak of the Golden God realm. The strength of the two of them, even in the Flame Cemetery, is extremely outstanding. Even the core disciples of major sects such as Tum Qinghua Li dare not say that they do not take these people into consideration. But now, Xiao Xian is so arrogant. You definitely don't take them seriously. It seems that you are very confident. This is absolutely unimaginable. After all, although Xiao Xian defeated Ying Guang before, it was only a one-on-one victory. Now Xiao Xian has to face two people. Whether it is Qin Feng or Chen Meng, their strength is not inferior to Ying Guang at all. If these two people join forces, Xiao Xian will definitely face a huge challenge. But now, Xiao Xian doesn't care at all. Isn't this a bit too arrogant? However, at that moment, Tum Qing and Bai Ling also looked at each other, with full trust in each other's eyes. Although I don't know where this trust comes from. However, they had a feeling in the dark that Xiao Xian seemed to be able to win this trial. At the same time, at the top of the frozen stairs, after seeing Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng leading a group of powerful casual cultivators up the frozen stairs, the old man in the valley and the disciples also had a look of surprise on their faces. They originally thought the testers who walked into the tomb this time were the leading disciples of the sect such as Tum Qinghua Li. If the old man in the valley really wanted to leave a legacy, he could only choose from these people. But things are different now. After seeing these two people, they also discovered that there were not a few people with good strength in the tomb. I didn't expect that there would be such a talented person in the cemetery. Looking at the realms of these two people, they have reached the peak of the Golden God realm. Their strength is far stronger than that of Xiao Xian. In this case, will the two of them have a chance to receive the master's inheritance? Several disciples of the old man in the valley were talking about it. The old man in the valley, on the other hand, didn't take it seriously when he heard these words. He believed that his vision was not wrong. Xiao Xian's talent was definitely the strongest among them. Master, I don't think this Xiao Xian is anything special. He just pretended to comprehend on the frozen stairs for a while. In the end, he probably didn't comprehend anything, so he couldn't go any further on the frozen stairs. General Zhuji said confidently. He was originally not optimistic about Xiao Xian, but now that he saw Xiao Xian lagging behind, he was naturally very satisfied and said sarcastically, in the end, most of the achievements will end here. I don't think he is qualified enough to get the master's inheritance. Say it. Some of the disciples of the old man in the valley also had solemn expressions on their faces. They can also roughly feel that to obtain the inheritance of their master, it seems that it is not as simple as being strong, but requires extremely high cultivation talent, and this cultivation talent must be recognized by the elders of the valley. This can be said to be extremely difficult. After all, they have long understood the vision of the old man in the valley for such a long time. If it weren't for an extremely powerful or extremely talented disciple, the old man in the valley wouldn't even take a second look. And this is Xiao Xian on the frozen stairs. Instead, he became the only disciple favored by the old man of the valley in all these years. However, his future achievements depend on his own destiny. But it has to be said, Xiao Xian's appearance indeed made these disciples feel a strong sense of crisis. For such a long time, even though they are Dragon God realm experts and have been with Old Man Valley for so many years, they have not received much recognition from Old Man Valley. On the contrary, Xiao Xian, who has emerged in the tomb, has gained the favor of Old Man Valley. It would be false to say that they are not envious. But the problem is that even they themselves have to admit that Xiao Xian, who is a small Golden God realm practitioner, has performed perfectly among this group of Golden God realm powerhouses. Master, I think the Black Sword and Mengling Sword Immortals are not weaker than Xiao Xian. In the end, they may be the two of them to complete your frozen stairs. What do you think, General Juji also raised his hand and said, "You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors." Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1259. Although the words of General Juji were not polite, but at this moment, it also aroused the recognition of other disciples. In their hearts, they also extremely longed for the inheritance of the old man in the valley. Now, Xiao Xian suddenly appeared. Naturally, it makes them dissatisfied. However, what they are currently more concerned about is that if Xiao Xian can be suppressed, will they still have a chance to obtain the inheritance of the real old man of the valley? This is also something they are extremely concerned about. What's more, there are two people, Black Sword and Mengling Sword Fairy, who suddenly appeared. Even if they can't complete the frozen stairs, as long as they can stop Xiao Xian from reaching the end, it can be considered a success. This is also what these disciples hope to see. But not necessarily. My teacher feels that the person who can reach the end is probably Xiao Xian. The old man of the valley said directly. After saying these words, some people present looked a little embarrassed. In fact, most of these disciples of the old man in the valley felt that Xiao Xian could not reach the end, but the current situation did make their faces a little dull. They couldn't figure it out. Why could Xiao Xian, a small person in the Golden God realm, shine in front of a group of powerful people in the Golden God realm? To them, this is simply unbelievable. So, Master, do you really plan to give your inheritance to this guy in the little Golden God realm? General Juji asked a little unwillingly. You are in the Saint realm, why do you have such a high regard for a little Golden God? Territory. I never look at people's realm, but their talent. The old man in the valley shook his head. Talent. But, if this Xiao Xian is really talented, wouldn't he have already entered the Golden God realm? Why is he still just a small Golden God realm now? General Juji was a little unconvinced. In fact, General Juji was not the only one who had this idea, the other disciples of the old man of the valley also had this idea. The old man in the valley didn't pay much attention to this, but asked, Ao Qing, how many years have you been a disciple? 321 years, General Juji said quickly and respectfully. If you remember correctly, as a teacher, you were still in the spiritual realm when you became a teacher, right? The old man in the valley asked. Yes, my disciple was chased by the enemy and was seriously injured. Master, you were a life-saving grace for me. General Juji also looked humble. After more than 300 years of training from the spiritual god realm to the dragon god realm, your talent is only average. The old man in the valley said rudely, don't you know it yourself? My. Suddenly, General Juji also made a big blush. Looking at the junior brothers and sisters around him, he looked a little embarrassed. He had always regarded himself as senior brother. But who knew that the old man in the valley would say this now? However, even he had to admit that there was nothing wrong with what the old man in the valley said, and his cultivation talent was indeed not that strong relatively speaking. It was a matter of course that Xiao Xian received the inheritance from the old man in the valley. If Xiao Xian really has a chance to enter the saint realm in the future, not to mention the sects in these external areas, I am afraid that even the big sects in Zhongzhou will flock to him. But now the old man from the valley said it like this. At least, they are not qualified to receive the inheritance from the old man of the valley. Since he can have such a powerful talent and be favored by a strong man like the old man in the valley, this is enough to prove that he will definitely become a powerful practitioner one day in the future. He was also somewhat embarrassed. If Xiao Xian really got it in the end, wouldn't it be a slap in the face to all of them? Doesn't this mean that Xiao Xian may surpass the Dragon God realm and achieve the Saint realm in the future? After thinking about this, the disciples of Old Man Valley also looked at each other with solemn expressions on their faces. "Master, I still think that Xiaoxian is very dangerous." General Zhuji couldn't help but said, "Even though, as you said, this person is very talented in cultivation, but his current level is too low. With his little gold, with his cultivation in the divine realm, he is definitely not a match for Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng. I am afraid it will be difficult for him to get down the frozen stairs. Master, your inheritance is extremely important. You must not just give it to an ordinary person." Although this was said to General Ao Cheng, this is also recognized by them. What senior brother said makes sense. If he can't pass the frozen stairs, no matter how talented he is not qualified to receive your inheritance. Although these disciples had not seen Xiaoxian for a long time, for some reason, they always felt in their hearts that Xiaoxian was not that powerful. How could this kid who had just arrived have such great ability to get the inheritance from his master? At least, there will definitely be some achievements on the path of cultivation. After all, a talented disciple like Xiaoxian. In the entire Nanzan Haizu, apart from the old man in the valley, there are only a few old monsters who have not yet begun to reach the saint realm. More importantly, according to the old man in the valley, Xiaoxian's talent is more powerful than theirs. Moreover, this is simply a good thing to strengthen their strength. Among their disciples, the most powerful one is senior brother Ao Qing, but now even his talent is not recognized by the old man in the valley. Wouldn't the other disciples be even less recognized? If that's the case, some disciples also side with emotion. However, isn't it also a warning to others? Indeed, if you are still so young, this will not only cause Nanzan Haizu, but will even cause shock to the entire Dao continent. I also agree with what senior brother said. However, even though they said this, there was a bit of jealousy on their faces. For a moment, everyone present looked a little solemn. If this is true, I'm afraid the entire Nanzan Haizu will be shaken by this. So, Master, what you mean is that Xiaoxian will have the opportunity to enter the saint realm in the future? Become a master of the saint realm? Is this true? At this time. However, the words of the old man in the valley also made the faces of his other disciples look serious. Therefore, in their hearts they do not want such a thing to happen. This is no small matter. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1260. In this case, to whom should the inheritance of being a teacher be given? Regarding the words of the disciples, the old man in the valley asked, "If you think about it, I didn't give you a chance as a teacher before, but it seems that you can't get those inheritances." After saying these words, all the disciples felt a sense of embarrassment on their faces. Indeed, the old man in the valley also gave these disciples the opportunity to understand his inheritance. It's a pity. No disciple can explain his inheritance clearly. This is why the old man of the valley chooses the future successor in his tomb. But now, he was really curious. Xiaoxian is indeed just a cultivator of the little golden god realm. Although his talent is good, if he faces opponents like Black Sword Qin Feng and Mengling Sword Immortal Chen Meng, can he still stand out? This is also a matter of concern to the elders in the valley. After all, as a saint in the realm of saints, Old Man Gu also has his own pride. Now that he has to choose the successor of his inheritance, he naturally has to choose the best person. But, do you think the Xiaoxian has the ability to go to the end? General Zhuji was still a little unconvinced. If he can really go to the end, we will be convinced. Yes, if Xiaoxian really wants to prove his strength, then walk through the frozen stairs. Master's power of fear on the frozen stairs, even if we are all afraid of it, I think the Xiaoxian will come back dejected at most halfway through. Several disciples started talking about it. Basically, no one chose to believe Xiaoxian. This fact is not beyond the expectations of the old man in the valley. He understands the situation of his disciples. Each of these disciples has their eyes set high above their heads. Since entering the dragon god realm, he has become even more pretentious, thinking that he has stood on the top of Nansen High's Hu. As everyone knows, there is heaven outside the sky, and there are people outside the world. Not to mention that they are just cultivators of the dragon god realm. Even if they reach the true saint realm, who can know that there will not be stronger people? The old man in the valley also knows something about this. Once, he also thought that on the entire Dao continent, the saint realm might already be the pinnacle realm of this continent. But later, he discovered that this was not the case. On the Dao continent, there seems to be more powerful realms and characters. Therefore, now that he saw the appearance of his disciples, he couldn't help but shake his head. See the old man of the valley like this. Several disciples had some doubts in their hearts. They also generally knew that the strength of the old man in the valley was still very strong. Even though he was just a broken man now, he would not randomly choose anyone as his successor. And since the old man in the valley can be so optimistic about Xiaoxian, but it can also roughly explain some problems. Could it be that Xiaoxian's talent is more than what it seems? At this moment, on the frozen stairs, many people began to pay attention to Xiaoxian. After all, compared to other trialists, Xiaoxian is indeed more unique. First, he understood the core of the trial on the frozen stairs. Later, in front of everyone, he sarcastically mocked Heijian and Mengling Sword Fairy. No matter which one of these two things is taken out, it is enough to attract huge attention. Not to mention, these two things were actually done by Xiaoxian alone. This is why they were shocked and surprised. On the other hand, Qin Feng and Chen Meng also had curiosity on their faces when they saw Xiaoxian walking up the frozen stairs again. For them, Xiaoxian simply doesn't know the meaning of heaven and earth. No matter what angle you look at it, isn't it just a fantasy for a cultivator of the little golden god realm to want to obtain the inheritance of the old man of the valley in front of them? Black Sword Qin Feng was a leader among the casual cultivators, and more than 800 cultivators died under him. Look at these two people. After saying this, not only Qin Feng, but also some casual cultivators nearby became interested. Chen Meng also glanced at Xiaoxian and sneered. Under everyone's gaze, Qin Feng and Chen Meng also took the initiative to walk towards the top of the frozen stairs. The two of them were already stronger than ordinary cultivators. It didn't take much effort to reach the Star Sword and Fire stairs. In a strong position. In fact, some of the strongest among these casual cultivators. Yes, if I remember correctly, even in the Golden God realm, there are quite a few people who died at the hands of young Master Qin Feng. Judging from the speed of travel, he is probably the strongest person on the frozen stairs. It can be said that unless you are a true dragon god level powerhouse. Master Qin Feng. I have never seen a cultivator in the little golden god realm be so arrogant. They want to kill someone, just random things. And this time. Isn't this a disguised proof that these external sects have been practicing for so long, but they are not as good as a random cultivator without any sect? After this, who else will join the sect to practice in the future? You know, for casual cultivators, they are not bound by secular morality. In this way, the entire external sect will be slapped in the face. In the end, the people who walked further on the frozen stairs were probably the two casual cultivators, Qin Feng and Chen Meng. They didn't take it seriously at all, and they never worried that Xiaoxian could do something great. If it doesn't work out, the two of them will really come out last. Looking at what Xiaoxian means, does he really think that he can get the inheritance from the old man in the valley? Basically, no one can stop what Qin Feng wants to do, and this is what they care about. Some casual cultivators talked about it. It seems that he hasn't used all his power yet, but even so, he has already left Xinjiang and Huolai far behind. For them, the strongest people among the casual cultivators are naturally Qin Feng and Chen Meng. I think Xiao Xian will be dead without waiting for the end of the frozen stairs. At this point, they don't believe that Xiao Xian can really walk through the frozen stairs. As for this inexplicable Xiao Xian, their real strength is no less than that of the leading disciples of the sect, and they also have some hostility towards Xiao Xian. For a moment, Xinjiang and Huolai also looked at each other with a look of surprise on their faces. How funny! They had known before that Qin Feng and Chen Meng were very powerful, but they didn't expect that the gap between them would be so big. And such a scene also surprised Xinjiang and Huolai. It also left Xiao Xian and the others far behind. Moreover, judging from their situation, some people can still tell that they are relatively relaxed. Follow this trend.